Welcome to the Big Screen Bulls podcast, a podcast where Caleb Kindle and Christian McCrite give their reviews and reactions to what's happening on the big screen. They talk about films, TV series, and other forms of media entertainment. Episodes are released every Monday. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform. Be sure to follow the show's Instagram page at Big Screen Bowls Podcast, where new hints and updates will be released about future episodes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Big Screen Bowls Podcast, where you have your hosts, me, Caleb Kindle, and the Bowl himself, Christian McCrite here.
The Bowl. I get the official title. Good
Bowl
morning.
the
Bowl the Conqueror. Dude, that's good. Good morning or evening, afternoon, 2 a.m, whatever time you're watching this.
Oh yeah, it's a pretty dreary day here where we're at right now today. So it's a good day to record a podcast, and it's a good day to listen to a podcast.
So you should listen to the end. You should like, comment, subscribe. I'm kidding. No. I'm not actually kidding about that. You should definitely.
Oh
watch
yeah,
the
we
end.
never kid about that. Please,
I'm
please.
just like every YouTube video ever is like, you gotta please hit that like button and comment and subscribe. And I'm like, oh my gosh, just shut up. I will if you don't tell me to. Anyways,
But like I said, the Bowl the Conqueror here, so that gives us a good idea of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
that's right. The newest addition to the drawn-out Marvel Cinematic Universe franchise. So the first 10 or so minutes of this is going to be spoiler-free. If you haven't seen it yet, we will let you know as soon as we get to that point where we're going to talk about spoilers. But right now, it is spoiler free. Also, I apologize. I sound really bad today because I can't really breathe through my nose very well with allergies and all sorts of stuff. So I apologize for that. But why don't we go ahead and get right into it, Kindle?
Okay, perfect. No need to dilly-dally here. We're here to party.
That's right. And may I say that I could not imagine a more pleasant coworker than you, Kindle. I just can't imagine any other who could do this podcast with me. Those were 2 really bad ant puns, and you didn't laugh, and that's okay. The joke didn't land. It's fine.
I was taking it as a wholesome conversation.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I mean, I'm a good podcast.
I was thinking about this before, and I was like, should I make an ant pun? I'm like, will it go over well? I'm like, I had to look up a couple on my phone. I was like, I'll just do this. I'll make it seem wholesome. But anyways, so there we go.
Okay. Well, other than that, jumping right in.
No, yeah, I was totally kidding. I would definitely rather do this with somebody else.
Oh.
I'm kidding. Anyways,
there will be a multiverse somewhere out there where Christian is happy to be on the podcast.
That's right. I'm Bowl the Conqueror. So, anyways.
But yeah, first things to say about this movie here, it's we got the 3rd movie that's going to have Paul Rudd as the Ant-Man.
Yep.
We've got more people added into the whole entire Ant-Man universe with the Rutt family growing. Where you bring Cassie into the situation, as well as his girlfriend or wife. I think. Are they married?
They're not very clear on it, actually. I don't think they're married.
Yeah, but Hope, because even looking up here, it still has her same last name. But either they're a couple. They kind of raised Cassie together. Mumbo jumbo deal.
They're like a family. It's
essentially
the same thing.
Yeah, and you have the whole entire Van Dyke characters as well too, where you have dad and mom as well too, of Hope's family as well too. So we're kind of building upon that relationship, and it's kind of neat and kind of refreshing because these are characters we've seen beforehand as well too. So it's not like we're starting a whole new concept. Like I think a lot of these new Marvel movies that were out there were like building a brand new concept for these things. Like I know Black Panther had a movie beforehand, and the second one didn't really feel like we're introduced to the same characters.
Yeah.
It almost felt like they were a whole new set of characters. As well as a few of the other ones that have came out as well too, that were just trying to put some new faces to the franchise.
Sure.
So that's kind of the base from there. I'll just say one last thing here before I pass it over to you is just even the numbers and the historical stuff that's related to it right now.
Kindle the historian.
The teller of all.
That's right.
So box office scores look like for this movie right now to be at 622.7 million, which is pretty good. Speaking that the first Ant-Man movie was in the 500 million era.
Right.
And the other Ant-Man, I think, was in the 600s as well, too. So it's doing better than that, but still it's not hitting the billions like it some of the Marvel movies that came out with as well, too. So I'd say it's an okay start to this.
Okay. Yeah.
An okay start to phase 5, at least numbers wise. And
yeah, kind of actually establishing the transition from like post Thanos to now like Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
So, and of course that's not a spoiler. I mean, if you just watch any trailer, you'll just know it's about Kang the Conqueror.
We were introduced to him already within Loki as well, too. So
yeah.
It's not like...
Right. Yeah. And we'll get to that too. But this movie is strange. It kind of plays off of some tropes of earlier movies. And like, as you said, like most of the first Marvel films, like were trying to like make like these comic ideas and characters come to life in their own original fashion. Now we're really getting to that point where like they're starting to play off of each other's stuff.
Yep.
And this movie felt like two different movies to me. This felt like Ant-Man was in a movie kind of like a mixture of Star Wars and Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's not as good as either of them. I think it has some interesting world building aspects. Like they get straight into the quantum realm. And they meet all sorts of different creatures. There's some practical effects. There's a lot of CGI. Some people were complaining about the CGI. I didn't see any problem with it. I thought it was good.
I will say there's one or two instances.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it when we get further into it as well. But
there are...
You know what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's fine. There's actually some parts that are actually really good looking. Yeah. And... I need to stop. All right. So it has that world building aspect, kind of like Star Wars, where you kind of see a new place. It's a lot of space vibes, kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy. It kind of tries to be that like comedic space drama, kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's just completely different. And I feel like Ant-Man and his family are just thrown into just a very strange situation. And I don't always like the direction they take it. Yeah. Kang the Conqueror is awesome. Jonathan Majors, who came out of nowhere, I guess, is really good.
And spoiler as well, too, for the end of the movie, he does live through it because he does have to fight Creed in the next Creed movie here in another month.
It's just... Yeah, spoiler for Ant-Man and the Wasp. He does live, so he has to fight Creed. Yeah.
But I do like what you said, though. It feels like this was very fast-paced. Like
it was really fast-paced.
Yeah. The only time I feel like it might slow down is later into the movie compared to...
I will say, every part where I felt like it was too slow was every part that did not have Ant-Man and Cassie and Kang. All the stuff with like Hank Pym and his wife Janet, all that stuff. It kind of got interesting at some points, but I thought that I don't know. It felt like two different movies. It felt like two different people made and directed this movie, and the tone is so off because Marvel keeps doing this stuff where like, oh, we have to throw in jokes every now and then. And it's like some of them are just unnecessary, like not in like a way that like they're inappropriate. Sure, there's some inappropriate jokes, but like inappropriate in the sense of like it doesn't fit the situation. And I feel like this movie should have played more on the dramatic sense and dropped a lot of the comedy. Because when this movie does drop that comedy sense, this movie rocks. But what do you think about it?
I think the comedy was a lot more well balanced, at least within this, compared to some of the latest Marvel movies that have been out, like Thor: Love and Thunder. Maybe some things
I like that movie.
in the quantum realm. I just think humor wasn't very well played in some of those. I thought it was better positioned in this one as well too, because you could have and not to get, I'll talk about it more here after we jump into the spoiler piece of things, but I almost thought it felt like Thor Ragnarok with its comedy. Like you had kind of your characters that were comic relief, and it was good that they had those parts and they were funny. And let's keep it like that compared to making our main character a goofball the whole entire time with this, because and Paul Rudd is kind of more of a goofier character as well too, but same instance.
He's like your everyday guy.
This is a very serious situation that was going.
Yeah. He's more like your everyday guy. And seeing him thrown into a situation like this, of course he's helped save the world with like the Avengers and stuff. And they make a lot of jokes about that. And that stuff is funny. That stuff I actually really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But
I will say last piece though here before we cut into the next segment of this is 100% this was the best Marvel movie in Phase 5. 100% the greatest movie in Marvel Phase 5. It is also substantially the worst movie so far in Marvel's Phase 5 at the same time.
Yeah, because it's the only movie in Phase 5. That's why. Wow. I mean, it's all right, but the movie as a whole, my concluding spoiler-free thoughts are the tone's really uneven. It kind of plays on a lot of tropes of things we've already seen before. It's really fast-paced, and it sidelines a lot of characters that I wish I would see more of, like the Wasp. It's literally called Ant-Man and the Wasp. I wish I would have seen more of the Wasp and Ant-Man actually interacting. This movie's really just Kang's movie. And, I have appreciation for that because it does a better job of setting up future stuff than it does being its own movie.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is its biggest strength and largest flaw at the same time.
Yeah. But go watch this movie, guys. And let us know what you think about it. Comment on our Instagram, TikTok, whatever you guys follow us on, to know what you really think about it. We can maybe put some of those out there on the marketplace as well too.
There we go.
So
spoiler alert from this moment onward. All right.
Yep.
I'm gonna say it again. Spoiler alert from this moment onward. Let's go. All right.
Bang. First thing is I was going to talk talk just what you mentioned there about the Wasp aspect of things.
Yeah.
Yes, this was Ant-Man and the Wasp, and there was not a lot of hope Van Dyke in this at all.
And there was not a lot of hope in the movie whenever they were getting beat up. Anyways, sorry, go on. I'm having fun over here. I'm laughing at my own jokes. That's what I need.
Yeah, but there's supposed to be a very big character within this, and they really want to make it more of like the Ant-Man isn't just the main character. You also have the Wasp that's coming into this.
She's in the title.
Yeah, but the franchise was wanting to build it off as they were going to take the lead role together, I felt like, going forward.
Hope was a huge part of the second movie. She's really sidelined in this one, I think.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's probably just because of you want to get the whole idea of what Ant-Man is across. And you said it there, like, Ant-Man as a superhero is your everyday blue-collar guy that just got lucky one day and ran into getting some magical suit that was able to make him small and all that good stuff. And it's a whole different concept than a lot of the other superheroes that are within this franchise as well, too. Because, again, you have Thor, who is a god within his own mindset, which I don't know what the exact concept would be. You'd have that, but you have Doctor Strange, who is a level 35 wizard.
He's a wizard. He's a wizard.
But they're very different people. And I kind of appreciate that aspect of what the Ant-Man series is trying to do. But the same way, there's only room to do that for one person because Hope Van Dyke really isn't like a common blue collar person.
No.
She's a scientist's daughter,
Yeah.
kind of a rich kid. I don't know.
Yeah. The weird part for me is if you look at the old Avengers comics, the Wasp is like actually like a pretty like prominent character as a member of the Avengers and whatnot. And this movie has kind of made me concerned what they're going to do with her character because she has a lot to do. I mean, she has a lot to do in the first film and she's not even the Wasp yet. She has a lot to do in the second film and she is the Wasp and she kicks butt. She kicks some butt in this movie a little bit and comes in on a scene where Ant-Man is like, so the whole plot of this movie is they get stuck in the quantum realm and Michelle Pfeiffer's character, Hank's wife, was down there for so long. She met Kang and she was trying to help him escape so that he could also take her back to her world as well. But she figured out that he was kind of a multiversal monster. And she got like the core of his ship and expanded it to such a size that Kang couldn't do anything about it and it would trap him. And but she decided to tell nobody anything. And one of my biggest pet peeves of this movie is that she doesn't tell anybody anything until like the last moment. And it's super annoying. But anyways, so Ant-Man is told by Kang that he's the only man who can go in to the core and shrink it back down to size so he can use it. And so in one of the scenes, he goes in there and he starts having a bunch of clones, duplicates,
Variations.
Yeah, it's like potential possibilities of other choices of what Ant-Man would do. They all ended up working together because of love and for his daughter, which is a super cool moment. And they make like an anthill, which is super clever. And then Hope comes in just out of nowhere and she helps him finish the job. But that's like all she does in this whole movie. She says a couple of lines. She like kicks a couple people pretty hard. She helps Scott Lang in this one moment, and that's pretty much it.
And she drinks a beer with him as well, too.
Oh, yeah, she drinks.
Brought to you by Bud Anheuser-Busch.
But that's why, like, if you're going to put her on the title, like, come on. She's got to be a bigger part of this movie. I think this movie would have benefited greatly from an extra, like, 20 minutes of having more scenes with Hope and what they're doing. You know, she's more or less the entire time trying to get her mom, Janet, to tell her what's going on. And that's how she spends 90% of the movie.
Yeah.
And that irritates me.
I will say, though, it's good, like, even the throwback to some of the old comics and stuff like that. You see actually Janet have a part in this movie. She did not have a part in the last Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. Yeah. So it's good to see her actually have a part because, yeah, when you pull it back to some like the OG first Marvel, first like Avenger-based comic books, she is in those.
Yeah,
as
she is
one of the Ant-Man type characters.
Yeah,
from the whole franchise piece of things. So it's cool to see that. She is a very interesting character as well too, just because of her different life of spending 30 years or however long it was down there in the miniverse.
Yeah. In the quantum verse thing. And she spends a lot of time trying to get away from Kang, who is really good in this movie. He's intimidating. He doesn't play around. Now, like, he's not like other villains that we've seen. He's not like a god or anything like that. His technology is so advanced that he's able to kind of be outside of space and time, which allows him to manipulate space and time.
Yep. It's like an upgraded like Tony Stark almost.
Yeah. Except for most of them are evil. And he's really intimidating in this movie. This movie does do a great job of setting up how dangerous this person actually is.
Yeah. I think as well too, like just to get to your point, like Kang is like, there was comedy within this. And I said we would talk about it here. Like there was comedy, but when Kang was on the screen, there was no comedy.
No comedy.
It was serious. It was time for business when he was on there, which that's what you want from your villains. You don't want your villains making jokes or somebody karate kicking around the villain or a bunch of kids running around trying to fight the main villain at the end of things.
Yeah.
Like it's meant to be, it's go time. The seriousness is on. And we see that within the first moment Ant-Man meets him when it's, I'm trying to be nice here, but I won't be nice. And like pins him to the wall.
Yeah.
And just by lifting his fingers and crushing him. And it's like, oh, I can get your daughter too. Starts crushing her as well too.
Yeah. And he is like, he like gets close to him as he's like crushing him against like this force wall. And he says, if you don't make this deal, I will kill her in front of you and make you relive that over and over and over again until you beg me to kill you. And I'm like, that's dark.
Yeah. And
that was super cool. And you can tell he's a menacing character. He's got this technology at the end, like, so Ant-Man grows big and starts busting everything up. So Kang the Conqueror comes out and he just starts wiping people out, but he like disintegrates everybody. Just immediate disintegration with his like laser beams that he's shooting out. So he is pretty intimidating.
Yeah. Well, that and just like Jonathan Majors is an amazing actor too.
Oh my gosh. He's so good.
Like, yeah, that's just crazy just how that seriousness, that kind of that smolder that he has. It's almost like that Thanos smolder of like, I know I'm better than you. I show it.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want.
There is like an aspect of like sympathy for the character for a little while. Like every now and then you kind of see like this is also kind of a person, but then it snaps you right back to like, oh, it's not just any person. Like this is like a multiversal threat.
Yep.
To like existence. And he has like some lines about how like he's basically implying that he's killed like Thor and like other Avengers and stuff.
Was a crazy good scene. I know it's been clipped everywhere now too.
It's good.
Like, are you the one with the hammer? It's like, and it's like, of course, he's like,
he makes now that joke was funny.
That joke was good. It's all people think we kind of look alike. And he's like, oh, okay. He wasn't that hard.
Yeah. He's dude, Kang goes hard.
Yeah.
And but
and even then, like leading up to Kang as well too. I thought it did a really good job of leading up to him.
Yeah,
I know it did have a lot of like, kind of like, pointless points in the middle of it or close to the beginning of it after they get to the quantum realm. But all the pointless points, I think the main reason for all of it was to point to Kang is he's him. He's Himothy.
Yeah. So yeah, and and Kang crash landed in the where he was exiled by other Kangs who perceived him as a threat and sent him into there, and he basically made the world his own and outcasted a lot of people. And so you do get to see the aspects of like how he is as a conqueror of worlds, that he was able to crash land like by himself and be able to build all of that on his own. Like that's pretty good. Another thing I don't like about this movie, Hank Pym gets nothing to do. I can't think of one significant, like not one particularly significant thing that Hank does in this movie besides
the ants.
I mean, which is really like a huge part of the final battle. But that's it. He spends the entire movie just asking questions, just like Hope does, getting like information revealed to him. Hope and Hank are sidelined, and Hank is my favorite character in all these in all these movies, or the first two movies. Not this one. He's really pushed back. And then they recasted Ant-Man's daughter, Cassie, which she's from Detective Pikachu. I didn't realize that till like halfway in the movie. I was like, hey, I know her. She's not bad. The chemistry is a little off. There's something about her acting that's at some points a little over the top.
I think that was
but she
kind
was
of
fine
written into it though as well too. Like,
yeah, it may not be all her fault.
Yeah, it was written to go almost nuclear in some ways. It's like, well, you aren't here, Dad, and that's they try to build that apart.
Yeah,
like the father-daughter type relationship, and we did the podcast on the Invincible as well too that did so much better of a job of it. I felt like trying to build that dynamic.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't really 100% there, just because like they did that. There was the Dad, you weren't here, and it's like, well, I can't help it. I was really snapped away for 5 years. Like
I can't help it. I was trapped for 5 years.
yeah.
And she's like, well, if I would have done this, I would have got you out. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
She also just helped build like a signal to the quantum realm in her basement. So it kind of like lessens the power of this stuff now. Like now it kind of feels like anybody could kind of do it. Like I know they're part of a family who has all these abilities and the PIM particles and stuff, but it feels kind of plot devicey.
Yeah.
What did you think about MODOK?
Yeah, I thought we were going to get into it a little bit later before we opened this can of worms, but
I was just thinking it was on my mind, and I was like, I'm just going to ask.
Yeah.
Because I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Spy Kids 3. George Lopez.
Dude, oh my gosh,
did
that's
better
funny.
CGI or whatever that was.
It's probably about the same.
Yeah, it was basically the same. Like
I can feel the electricity in the air. Dude, I remember that movie. That was Spike. Wait. That's not the George Lopez. I was thinking of George Lopez from Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Whoops.
that is right. That is Shark Boy, Lava Girl. I don't know what I was thinking.
Right comment. Shark Boy and Lava Girl. That's what you said.
Yep.
Which means my quote line is still right.
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, 100%. It's the same exact. I feel like they did MODOK pretty dirty there. Like MODOK's meant to be kind of an intimidating villain, and again, like it mentioned what his name really meant.
Yeah, the machine organized
for destruction,
or the machine something designed only for killing.
Yep.
Forget what the first O is, but yeah, it's a whole acronym for something.
Yep. No, yeah, for sure. But that's meant to be the character, and I don't know, they did him pretty dirty. I think like they made him very, very. It's not funny at all. I thought
they tried to make too many jokes with it. Yeah.
They did that, and then it's like you have this weird, awkward relationship of bringing it back to the first Ant-Man. It's like, okay, I see you remember me. I tried to kill you when you were 6. Oh, yeah.
It was like oddly casual.
Yeah.
And then he tries to go all ham on Hank Pym, tries to kill him. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
And he just crashes. And
does he do anything in this movie? That's a good.
Not really.
He evades the first scene.
I mean, he helps bring down Kang's shield that his force shield that he's trying to repel all the ants with. But he has like this redemptive arc that starts and ends with Cassie just telling him, like, don't be a butthead. That's literally like what she tells him, except for she didn't use that phrase, obviously. But and he's just like, wow, I never thought about that.
Oh yeah, it's like not like I've spent 30 years or 10 years down here trying to orchestrate all this. And
wait a minute, man. I don't have to be a horrible person. It's so weird.
And they said it like 30 times too. Of course, they just like what they said as well too. And I know we cuss on here a little bit. It's just like, don't be a dick. And they say it like 35 times.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, come on here. Like there's more.
They definitely overplay it.
Yeah. There's like, yeah. It just feels like it's weird. I don't know how I can explain this at least. But it's very undramatic and very kind of shifty on how they pulled it of like, oh, you could be redeemed because we're trying to do the right thing and not release Khan into a world where he's going to kill millions or trillions of people.
Yeah.
Just don't be a dick. Oh, that's the thing that got you.
Yeah, this whole time.
Yeah.
Which is so weird after all that he's done. And he was like the weird henchman to like Kang the Conqueror who doesn't really do anything. He's more just like there to be intimidating for like a second. And then the main characters just push him aside. Yeah. But I will say, because he dies, his death is kind of funny because he's like, Ant-Man, Scott, I always thought that we were like brothers. And he's like, no, we weren't. But he's dying, so he has to like be nice to him while he's on his deathbed. And he's like, sure, man. And he's like, at least I died in an Avenger. I was like, that's funny. I enjoyed that.
No, it was.
But everything
good,
else
but I
was
just-
stupid.
Yeah, I hated the character so much, and I'm just sitting here thinking of Shark Boy and Llama Girl George Lopez head,
Yeah.
sitting there dying.
The Marvel Avengers video game that came out that was not really well received. I actually own that game. They do a really good job of showcasing this character. But this movie just completely trashes him. And he's not even supposed to be Darren, but they just made him Darren. And the whole reasoning is that like when he got shrunk into the quantum realm, like his head remained larger than his other body parts. And Kang saved him and then just kept his body like that. Interesting concept, but it was really weird to see.
Yeah. Well, it's as well too, like I do understand that was MODOK's character within the comics, that he was shrunk down and his head became really big, but
well, his head got so large that it just overshadowed the size of his body. Through, I mean, there's different variations of that character, but
yeah, but like one of his biggest strengths within the comic books and stuff like that is with his head being so big, he hits super intelligence.
Yeah, super intelligence. He has like super tech that has all this. Like he can like fight against like the Avengers.
Yeah, but a very very dumb character. Like you literally took away the only thing that he had going. Like he was like supposed to be the smartest villain, and you took that from him, Marvel.
Yeah.
And you took it from him.
Yeah, this movie is just very strange. That's the best way. Like there are things I actually do really like about it. You know, like the music is good, Kang is good, Scott is really good in this movie. I like Ant-Man. Now, are you ready for my controversial opinion?
Go for it.
I mean, it may or may not actually be controversial. I think they should have killed Ant-Man in this movie. I think he should have died. He had this cool moment where like Kang is this close to getting out, and Ant-Man is the only thing that's stopping him. What is more heroic? Because it looked like Kang was beating up on him really bad. Because Kang is obviously more powerful without his tech, more powerful than Ant-Man. So he's beating up on him, and Kang's trying to push him closer to the core so the electricity or all the power would kill him. And he's like, I don't have to win. We both just have to lose. I'm like, first of all, that's a good line.
Yeah.
Second of all, it would have been much more effective if he would have either died to prevent Kang from escaping or prevent Kang from escaping and the portal closes and leaves him in there. Because then you could do something interesting with that later on. But I feel like, but then like it just ended with, Cassie like reopens the portal and they just go back home.
Hope comes out and shoots
Yeah.
She gets her kind of, I think, a kind of plot device as well too. The wasp stinger she has
Yeah.
on her wrist, like that's like super super powerful for whatever reason. Like every single
Apparently,
like,
she's like pushing Kang back with each blow, and then he just pushes him back into, and then Ant-Man punches him in the face, pushes him back into like this core thing, and that kind of sucks him inside. So I guess he's dead. I don't really know. They don't really explain it, but
I do agree because that was great character building there at the end as well too. Because like,
but I knew they weren't going to do it.
Yeah, of course. Like at this point, how could Marvel do that right now? You get rid of Tony Stark, you get rid of Captain America, you get rid of Chadwick Boseman as the Black Panther. Like majority of the great heroes are gone now. Like the ones that really built this franchise are now gone. Like you can't give one of the most likable characters up now when it's like this. If this was phase 6, we'd have a whole nother phase to get through and start loving some new characters. I think that would have been perfect for Marvel to do it.
Right.
I know they can't afford to lose them right now.
I think in the grand scheme, I heard that, now these are just rumors, but I heard that Tom Holland is supposed to be the lead for the next Avengers film, which is Kang Dynasty. And my concern with that is not necessarily have anything to do with Spider-Man being the lead. That's fine. And there's been a couple Avengers comics or iterations where he has. But they have a new Captain America, in Sam Wilson, why isn't he leading the Avengers? There's that. There's also Ant-Man, who has now been with them since phase 2 of the MCU. Is he just going to be another side character that is led around by like an 18-year-old kid from high school? I mean, what frustrates me is, no, you don't have to kill all of your characters off. I made that very clear in our last episode, which we talked about Rocky Balboa and had our first guest on. So if you haven't watched that, go check it out. But this movie, I felt like with the dialogue and the tone, that if it would have dropped some jokes and shifted to make it more dramatic about Ant-Man and what he's done, would have been such a more satisfying conclusion if they would have killed him off to prevent Kang from escaping. But then they have the dialogue where like he's walking down the street and he's like, I beat Kang, I think. Maybe. Anyways, I shouldn't worry about it. Then he starts worrying about it again. But anyways, my concluding thoughts on that whole spiel that I just went on was that with Tom Holland being the new lead, I don't like that choice because I feel like there's so many other characters. Like Thor is still around. Sam Wilson is still around. The Winter Soldier is still around. There's so many characters who are still around who've been in the worst of the worst. And I want to see what they do with them. So
yeah, I will say though, I don't like, again, that's what Marvel says, but what does it mean to be a leader? Like Tony Stark and Captain America did not lead the Avengers really. Like it was more of like those people were focused on more because they're more interesting characters. And Spider-Man, again, debatably is the most interesting character within the Marvel universe.
Yeah, he's the most popular Marvel character of all time.
I've got a Spider-Man shirt on for.
You do have a Spider-Man shirt on. I just don't notice that.
Yeah.
I don't. I have a USA shirt on. Captain America, basically.
But other than that, though, I think that's a good hot take on it. I do agree with your idea on it. I just understand what Marvel has at stake right now.
I'm not alone. Good to know I'm not crazy.
I'd say my biggest hot take within all this is going to be the movie would have been better without Bill Murray.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's like within the middle of this movie. Again, I talked about it within the beginning, but it felt like there was a lot of pointless kind of plots that were thrown out there, and it really slowed down the movie.
That was one of them.
Yeah, and I think that was one of them. Like they were trying to get this whole time. It's like, Janet, can you just go ahead and explain what's going on here? Why are we so confused? And for some random reason, she wants to hold it off.
She always goes, 30 minutes. I don't have time to explain it right now. Yeah, we have to do this first. And we're like, no, we're sitting down and having drinks. This is a good time for you to tell us what's going on.
Instead of calling somebody up to.
If they took him out of the movie, would the movie have changed at all?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
They'd just have to find some plot device to get a ship, which.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yeah.
They could have did the same exact plot device when at the beginning of it, when she does like that fighting deal.
Yeah.
And cuts that dude's arm off and it grows back. They could have given her a ship after that and that'd have been perfectly fine. I think that would have been a better plot.
Yeah, that would have worked.
I think, and it's understandable. Like, we're going to have Bill Murray because he's a good blockbuster Hollywood actor, but I don't know. It was just weird. I don't think it was
they probably. Funny. Yeah,
like,
I agree.
They had this weird like sex type
relationship with
and it's like
they probably paid him a bunch of money to do that.
Oh yeah,
Marvel, you could have saved a lot of money and spent it towards your visual effects and your budget.
You could have given it to me.
You could have given it to us. But
there was that, and there was a few other just like scenes within there that just felt like it slowed down the movie tone.
Sure.
And it really didn't need to be that way. Another one would be I can't remember the character's name now, but can read minds.
Quasar or something like that.
Like it was good. Some of
it was kind of interesting.
I think it was neat that they brought him into it to mention it, but I think it kind of lingered sometimes too long.
The Outcast Rebellion people. Yeah, I totally agree. All right. It's time for our concluding thoughts / score of this movie. So, Kindle, what score do you give this movie?
I kind of ripped on this movie a lot, I feel like, during this podcast. I shouldn't have, though. Movie's good. I like the movie. I think it's one of the best Ant-Man movies I believe it is the best Ant-Man movie in my mind. because it's weird. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It gives like you said, it's like a Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy. Of course, not as good. Tron Legacy type feel to it, and it's a little bit different than what you'd expect out of Ant-Man.
Sure.
And I kind of like that.
And I kind of like it.
Some people didn't. We saw on Rotten Tomatoes when it got like a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Less.
47%.
43% last time I checked.
Okay. A lot of people didn't like it. And I know a couple people that didn't like it. I've talked to. I went to the movie theater with a couple people that didn't like it. But I did. And just because of that, and just because of King is an amazing villain, one of the best villains out there, and we need to have the setup for him to be a Thanos level monstrosity.
Yeah.
And we need to have Paul Rudd. We need to have Ant-Man just become a better hero at the end of the day.
Yeah.
To make up for the lack of losing a lot of the heroes as well too. So with all this being said, I'm going to give the movie out of a popcorn bowl rating. We've got 10 popcorn bowls in front of us.
That's
here.
right. 10.
I'm going to give it 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. So it's a solid movie.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie. It's not a bad movie. It's a good movie.
Okay.
You get a C.
That's right. You get a solid C right there. Okay. I can agree with that. Like, we did rip on it quite a bit.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's because the best parts about this movie don't need a whole lot of explanation. It's a lot easier to explain things that you don't like about something. I'm pretty sure that we mentioned that before in another review, I think for Black Panther 2.
Yep.
I said the exact same thing. Do I like this more than Black Panther 2? Because Black Panther 2, you and I both gave a 7.5. And that's a really interesting thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it the exact same score, I think.
7.5.
I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Okay.
I ripped on it quite a bit, but I'm a person who loves movies, and it's really hard for me to dislike a movie. Yeah. And so if I dislike you, it means you have if your score is less than 7, it means I don't like you very much.
And I'll be honest, well, too, watching Wakanda Forever 2 or 3 more times, I would now rank it lower than this.
I'd probably give it a 7 now.
No, I'd probably give it a 6.8, 6.6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like somewhere like within the 6, like high 6s and stuff like that.
Sure. But
because
I'm going to backtrack and I'm going to meet you at a 7.
Okay.
Because I know I just said 7.5, but with all that context, I'm going to move it back to a 7. It has tonal issues. It has some really high highs and some very low lows that really bug me. Bug me. That one was good. That one was unintentional.
There's a few plot devices that are in this that are kind of like.
And characters that are shoved to the side, other characters who get to shine that have a lot of great stuff to do. Good world building. I like it. Very interesting. Post-credit scenes are actually really good, and they're both very serious.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like I've always liked the Loki franchise. There's a Loki one within this. And then, of course, there's like a Goofy or
there's one with all the different Kangs, and like you see a stadium full of nothing but Kangs. I think it's interesting, and it goes to show the acting chops of Jonathan Majors, who at first is like these 4 different Kangs who have different voices and different personalities, and then a stadium full of them. I'm like, this dude's for real. Yeah. This guy's for real.
I'll be honest though, I hope they kind of fix that a little bit, because if they're going to have like a whole entire like Avengers Assemble type deal, it's like the enemy's just a bunch of the same character all run around. Like I feel like it's going to be, I don't know, it'll be silly.
Who knows? Yeah,
it'll be a silly Billy for a very serious character. So I bet they're going to do something about killing off a lot of the Kangs.
Yeah, probably. But that being said, I'll give it a 7.
Yep.
It's all right. It's good. It's not great by any means. It's got a lot of problems, but it's got some stuff to look forward to. If somebody said, hey, do you want to sit down tonight and watch Ant-Man 3? I'd be like, sure. Yeah, that's fine. There's my official review. Yes. My score, my stamp. Our official score for this movie.
Our bowl.
Bowl to conquer.
But other than that, thanks for coming and listening. I know we had a really successful podcast last week when we brought in our first guest. If you guys have any want or have any desire to have a podcast guest on with us, we now have this set up. We have everything available to bring on a guest. Send us a DM, shoot us a message, text me or Christian if you have our numbers.
Yeah,
if
anytime.
not, then shoot us a DM, of course. And let us know what you want to talk about. Let us know if you want to be on. We have the ability for you to come into the office, and you can even dial in as well too if you're a little bit further away from where our headquarters are at here. So, but other than that, make sure you do the things that cringy YouTubers tell you to do,
which is to like this and to share it, to download it, and to comment. And you can find us on any podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, YouTube as well, Instagram, and other stuff that's coming out soon. So keep an eye out for it.
Yep. And I'll do it in a very different concept as well too. Instead of like bugging you and saying it 35 times during an episode,
I'm going to say it 36 times.
I'm going to spend the next 5 seconds begging you to like, subscribe, and share. Please, please, please.
If you do that for 5 minutes, I'm going to beg you to stop.
I said 5 seconds. But.
Oh, you said 5 minutes. I was like, if you do that for 5 minutes.
But either way, on that note, we're out of here, Bowls.